Well, good morning. It's Tom Padula from TomPadulaTV on YouTube and the Insegna Booksellers. And this is the 16th of June, which is Thursday, of course, 2022. And we're going to have program 38 of World History. We've come a long way since program 1, and there's a lot more. There's a lot more in the pipeline as well, because this history story is never ending, really. And when we look at, we've looked at the various countries of the world, the various continents. They all have certain civilizations that in the past did not mix. They stayed apart from each other. So world history teaches us that the diversities in the world depend very much on what happens locally in particular areas of the world, including the continents and both in the northern hemisphere and southern hemisphere. The reflection that should be there is that we need to learn about history, and we need to learn to go outside of our own local history, because in that way humanity gets closer. We understand that whatever we do in our local areas is quite unique, and it stands apart from the others in other parts of the world. But then we need to understand also that conquering other neighbouring nations is perhaps a danger, because that's what we've done in the past. The kings and the monarchs, they had their big armies and the bureaucracies, and we see this with Rome. In Rome, for example, now we spoke about Augustus last week, and Caesar and Augustus, and then you think they built the buildings, beautiful buildings, roads, etc. They had big armies, but there is a cost factor too in terms of the humanity, because some parts of the cities which were developed, and also other parts as well, there was great poverty, and there was great inequality amongst the people, and some of the people in Rome were called patricians, and the others were called plebeians. The plebeians are the people who struggle. Welcome to Moises Zavaleta. That's great. Moises Zavaleta. Okay, good to have you on. Now, this morning I'm going to, this is Melbourne time, of course, and it's a bit cool weather-wise, but history warms me up. This morning I've chosen to do a bit ambitious. I want to do the Roman part, and then I want to sort of go back to China and do the Great Wall, see what happened there with the Great Wall, and also to South and Central America, basically the central part, the northern part of South America and Central America, where the Aztecs, the Maya and the Inca empires grew. At the same time, around that things were happening in China and in Europe. It's sort of, but they were developing differently. For example, the Maya, though, I've learned this morning that the Maya actually had developed some forms of writing. And it's great to see that there was that sort of development. Although in the three empires they didn't have the wheel. The wheel was never cards. Everything was done on people's back. And so slaves were important. You had to tell them what to do, and they had to do it. Otherwise, they would be heavily punished. Then I will go to Tasmania to see how the a couple of young people there lived in particular times after the invasion, what we call the invasion, when Captain Arthur Phillipps arrived in 1788, he brought with him people then who stayed in Australia and, remained here. And that process still continues today. And that process continues around the world as well. And then, to remember the colonials as well, because they did a lot of work here, I've got Banjo Patterson and Henry Lawson, two great Australian writers of the late 19th, early 20th century. We then move, then I got to the Mornington Peninsula, and I want to show you Point Nepean. So that's about it. It's 11:29. We're almost there. And I want to thank anyone who comes on whilst I'm having these particular lesson presentations, and those people who join me later in the podcasts. Don't forget, if you've got a smart TV and you got the TomPadulaTV on YouTube, in the search button, you write down Tom Padula. There's a lot of my work there, including now these lessons here, presentations, and I'm doing them slowly but surely, a bit at a time. So you can watch them there. Now, I know I can't compete with the very important people that are around me there, but, this is a humble type of activity that encourages individuals to remain joyous and happy in their lives by cultivating your intellectual property, your brain. And it can only be done, really, not just by eating, but by reading, by being interested in a variety of subject matters. Okay, so it's 11:31. I'm going to start. Here we go. So, this is the world of the Romans. Life of Roman plebeians, the ordinary people. Of the rest, in other words, after the buildings and the patricians became rich and they had big houses and they had slaves. So after the rest, after all this greatness of Rome, many were poor. Of the people there, many were poor or unemployed. Plebeians who lived in huge overcrowded blocks of one-room flats, some of them 10 stories high. So one room for a whole family. As these men were Roman citizens and had votes, the emperor spent much money in feeding and entertaining them. So some of these people here had fought for the emperor, but they were given... Rome had about 1 million people in the city then. So he had to feed all these people. And the same thing happened in Maya, with the Maya. They built something like Rome in their own world, and in China too. One of the problems with large cities, you have to, it's not agricultural land. You've got to feed the population. So you have to have people not only do agriculture just outside of the city, but also can deliver it to the city to sell it, etc. And then the others have to offer their services and other materials, goods that people can buy, clothes, shoes, whatever, belts, anything, to do, or entertainment. So, as these men were Roman citizens and had votes, the emperors spent much money in feeding and entertaining them. They were entitled to a free ration of corn, most of which came by sea from Egypt, and were treated frequently to the spectacle of chariot races in the Circus Maximus, or gladiatorial contests and wild beast shows in the Colosseum. There's entertainment on a large scale. We have that today with the big, the big bands, big singers. We go around the world. Some of them got 50,000 people there. And our football stadiums, we've got one here in Melbourne that houses 100,000. So these are modern day Colosseums. But we don't entertain in blood, we entertain in a different way. Great area covered by Roman civilization. One of the great achievements of the Romans was to spread civilization throughout their vast possessions. In North Africa, Syria, France, Spain and Britain, towns and cities were built which reproduced the life of the capital on a smaller scale. So Rome was multiplied across the empire. So they had the Colosseum, they had, entertainment areas, bars and water running, all that sort of stuff. Aqueducts, plenty. In some provinces like France and Spain, the native inhabitants even forgot their own languages. So they started speaking Latin. Learned Latin from the Roman soldiers and colonists, and became civilized Roman citizens. In the eastern provinces, on the other hand, most educated people continued to speak Greek, as they had done since the days of Alexander. So Greek in the eastern part of the empire and Latin in the western part of the empire. Roman laws, of course, were in force everywhere. In force. If you didn't do what they said, you got punished. They had the army, the soldiers. And even today, most European countries have legal codes based on that of the Roman Empire. Those laws there, but these laws also developed in the eastern part. We've done this in previous lessons, presentations of mine, when we looked at the early civilizations, around the Euphrates, Tigris River, Egypt, Anatolia there, all sorts of other places that had to govern the people. When you got a lot of people together, you want to avoid frequent clashes, although you cannot avoid them altogether. Sometimes you even get civil war. So Hadrian's Wall, in 43 AD, that's after Dominus, after the birth of Christ. 43. The Romans conquered that part of the island of Britain now known as England and Wales, the southern part of England. To guard the frontier against the wild Picts, painted men, and Scots, the Emperor Hadrian had a fortified wall built from sea to sea right across the north of England, a bit like the Wall of China. Now, I wonder whether Hadrian got the idea from China, because there was a Silk Road then as well. So, and the Roman Empire extended further into the east. Good roads were built to connect the wall with Londinium, London, and the other larger Roman towns. And one of the things about the Romans, they had chariots, therefore they had to carry, was used for soldiers, was used for civil life, to bring food, materials around the country. So the roads became very important. And they built good roads in stone. No asphalt. They're still there, some of them. Richer Britons adopt Roman ways, of course, like they did with the language in France and Spain. They picked up Latin instead of their own local language. But I'm sure the local language survived. However, there were changes in the air. Richer Britons and Roman ways. As time went on, the richer Britons, especially the townsmen, learned Latin and adopted Roman clothes and customs. Some of them even achieved the great honour of becoming full citizens of the empire. And it was Caesar who suggested that, that you couldn't just have the citizens in Rome. In the lands you conquered, you had to extend Roman citizenship to them. In the more settled parts of the country, there sprang up great estates owned by Roman colonists or Romanized Britons. So, a country villa. The centre of activity on each estate was the villa, the castle, or homestead, which furnished a model of civilised life to the barbarous country folk. So they had all the mod cons. We call that civilised. I call civilised when somebody acts peacefully and is happy with their lot and is joyous in life. That's civilized. But if you have all those mod cons and roughneck, no good. From the excavated ruins of many villas, archaeologists have been able to reconstruct plans of what they must have been like in their heyday. The picture shows you one such villa that stood in the countryside near Gloucester. Oh, I'll show it to you. Roman Adrian wall, and okay, I'll show it to you in a minute. Its owner may have been the descendant of a man who had fought with the British chieftain Caractacus, or the warrior queen Boadicea. But he lived in a house with hot and cold water systems and beautiful mosaic floors. Some villas were even centrally heated by a furnace in the cellar. Not bad, huh? That's 2,000 years ago. Amazing, isn't it? So there you are. Moses, you're going to enjoy this. Here, I'm going to show you. These are some old pictures. That's the Pantheon in Rome. This is Hadrian's Wall. Reminds you of the Wall of China. And this is the villa. Beautiful. And of course, the Christians in the Colosseum. They were eaten by the lions, and everyone said, hooray, hooray. So that's it. That's it for the Romans. We're going to leave them now. And next week we'll do Christianity, Eastern and Western Empire. So it'll be fantastic. And now we got to the Wall of China. The origin of the Great Wall. Let me have a drink first. The origin of the Great Wall can be traced to defensive walls erected by various states during the spring and autumn and the warring states periods around the 7th century BC. After Qin Shi Huang united the country, he was the first emperor of China. He repaired, linked up and extended the walls built by the former states of Qin, Zhao, Yan and others into a huge military defense works which started from Liaodong Peninsula in the east and ended up at Lintao in today's Gansu province. That's just before the Mongolian province. In the west, a distance of more than 5,000 kilometers. This is the world-famous Great Wall. The wall was repaired and maintained over the course of many dynasties, especially during the Ming dynasty, when the work continued for some 200 years. The eastern part of the wall was mostly of bricks and stones. Historically, the Great Wall started from Yalu River in the east to Jiayu Pass in the west. Today, the Great Wall crosses 5 provinces: Liaoning, Hebei, Shaanxi, Shanxi and Gansu, and also, of course, Peking, the big city. Two autonomous regions, Inner Mongolia and Ningxia, and 1 municipality, Beijing in North China. 8 altogether, with a total length of over 6,600 kilometers. That's pretty good. Welcome to Jeanette Tarasco. It is one of the foremost wonders of the world. The Great Wall is composed of hundreds of passes, fortresses, towers and stretches of wall. Beacon towers are situated at suitable intervals to give the alarm if an enemy approached. The parts of the Great Wall located at Badaling, Mutianyu and Simatai in Beijing were all constructed during the Ming dynasty. These parts of the wall were built along mountain ridges. On many parts of the wall, 5 or 6 horsemen could ride side by side, pretty wide. Parts of the wall renovated in modern times are popular in tourist attractions, and some of my family members have visited, but not me. Oh well, that's it. I'm not going to read the rest because we've got so much to do today. So this is the Great Wall of China. So why do I bring this? Because I want to bring the actual history of the world coming together, understanding that at the same time a lot of good things were happening everywhere. And if you notice, the Hadrian Wall was built in England in AD 43 after the birth of Christ. This wall here started 700 years before, and there's a Silk Road. So in other words, trade amongst nations becomes really, really quite important in order to exchange knowledge. And we're doing that now, right now, with our new technologies. It's wonderful. We need to appreciate this fact that we are very lucky to have what we have today, and a lot of the people now have access to knowledge that previously were not through our telecommunication networks, and we're looking at the universe in a different way because we ourselves want to explore the rest. The Earth has become a small place. No use fighting each other anymore. And take note, Mr. Putin, because you could technically work with both China and the United States and NATO and explore the universe. Why fight? Create hunger. Those are old wars. We've had that with Napoleon, with this, the others. They're old wars. Now we need to feed everyone in the world. We need to look after their health and be able to look after the planet as well. The answers are there, out there. What can I say? Only one person amongst 8 billion people. And we all have at least 10 opinions within ourselves. It's a tough call. 2 children of Tasmania. So this is after the invasion, which still continues today. And by the way, Captain Cook did not invade Australia. He came and went. The Dutch came and went. The Chinese came and went. And the one that, caused it all was actually this guy called Matra, who convinced, he was an Italian, a Corsican Italian from New York, and he convinced the Home Office in England to come. He wanted land because they had lost the War of Independence, 1776, 1783. The Americans took over from the King of England, and they became, they wrote a constitution, and they beat the English with the help of the French. And so what did they do after they, they became independent after 1783? They dropped the French and continued to trade with the English. Beautiful. That's it. That's how you do it. That's politics. 2 children of Tasmania. That was a digression, by the way. Truganana and Waradi, sister and brother, lived on Bruny Island off the southeast coast of Tasmania. During the winter, the people lived on the island, but in summer, they crossed to the mainland to visit other groups. On the cold winter nights, Truganana and her brother slept in a shelter with their parents. This was a bark lean-to which protected them from the cold wind. A fire burned at the front of the shelter and shed its warmth inside. If the fire was allowed to go down overnight, the children would wake shivering with cold. Truganana huddled against her brother. Her back felt like ice. She leapt to her feet and saw that the fire died down. Running to keep warm, she managed to find some firewood. The group had camped in the same place for some weeks, and dry sticks near the camp were becoming scarce. Still, she found some which the wind had blown down and lugged them back to the fire. She warmed herself. Some shellfish still remained in the basket from the day before. These she flung onto the coals to cook. One by one, the shells gaped and the tender meat was ready for eating. Wuradi got up and demanded his share. Being the big sister, she ordered him to get more wood. You can't feed unless you get the wood. So I went, bullying. When he returned, everyone was awake. The low voices of the people murmured in the cool morning air. And I'm going to stop there. I'll continue next week. There's a lot more. I want to take a little time with the children of Tasmania. It's quite interesting. I want you to remember these two names, Truganana, and Wuradi. Okay? So that's that. And so that's how the people of Tasmania lived, the children. Now, by about 1865, there was a lady called Truganini, what was one of the last indigenous First Nations people of Tasmania, because the colonials hunted them down and killed them off. That's terrible stuff that happened at the time. That's unbelievable. It was genocide. Where do I put the rest now? Oh, here they are. Genocide. That's, that's why when we look back, but you look back and you say, okay, we made a mistake there, but the mistakes are in the ground, dead. Okay, the boss of the Admiral Lynch. This is from our friend, Benja Patterson. Did you ever hear tell of Chile? I was reading the other day of President Balmaceda and of how he was sent away. It seems that he didn't suit them. They thought that they'd like a change. So they started an insurrection and chased him across the range. They seem to be restless people, and judging by what you hear, they raise up these revolutions about 2 or 3 times a year. And the man that goes out of office, he goes for the boundary quick, for there isn't no vote by ballot. It's bullets that does the trick. As I said, Putin knows all about it. And it ain't like a real battle where the prisoners' lives are spared. And they fight till there is one side beaten, and then there is a truce declared. And the man that has got the licking goes down like a blooming lord, to hand in his resignation and give up his blooming sword. And the other man bows and takes it, and everything's all polite. I suppose Putin could say, listen, I don't want to lead Russia anymore here. And, he's forgiven. Wow. This wasn't that kind of a picnic. This wasn't that sort of a fight. For the prisoners they took, they shot them, no odds were they small or great. If they'd collared old Balmaceda, they reckoned to shoot him straight. A lot of bloodthirsty devils they were, but there ain't a doubt they must have been real plucked uns, the way that they fought it out. And the king of them all, I reckon, the man that could stand a pinch, was the boss of one horse gunboat. They called her the Admiral Lynch, a gunboat. Well, he was for Balmaceda, and after the war was done, and Balmaceda was beaten and his troops had been forced to run, the other men fetched his army and proceeded to do things brown. He marched them into the fortress and took command of the town. Cannon and guns and horses trooping along the road, rumbling over the bridges, and never a foeman showed till they came in sight of the harbour, and the very first thing they see was this mite of a one-horse gunboat lying against the quay. And there as they watched, they noticed a flutter of crimson rag, and under their eyes he hoisted old Balmaceda's flag. Well, I tell you, it fairly knocked them. It just took away their breath, for he must have known if they caught him, it was nothing but sudden death. And he got no fire in his verses, no chance to put out to sea. So he stood by his gun and waited with his vessel against the quay, while they sent him a civil message to say that the war was done, and most of his sides were corpses, and all that were left had run, and blood had been spilt sufficient, so they gave him a chance to decide. If he'd hauled down his bit of bunting and come on the winning side, he listened and heard their message and answered them all polite. Hold on, I need a drink. That he was a Spanish hidalgo, and the men of his race must fight. A gunboat against an army, and with never a chance to run, and them when they 100 cannon and him with a single gun. The odds were a trifle heavy, but he wasn't the sort to flinch. So he opened fire on the army, did the boss of the Admiral Lynch. They pounded his boat to pieces, they silenced his single gun, and captured the whole consignment, for none of them cared to run. And it don't say whether they shot him, it don't even give his name. But whatever they did, I'll wager that he went to his graveyard game. I tell you, those old hidalgos, so stately and so polite, they turn out the real McGuinness when it comes to an uphill fight. There was General Alcantara, who died in the heaviest brunt, and General Alzarica was killed in the battle's front. But the king of them all, I reckon, the man that could stand a pinch, was the man who attacked the army with the gunboat Admiral Lynch. And, you know, the Greeks, to Leonidas, did that to the Persians as well. So when you do history along, along generations, etc., you learn that. And you even learn that when you are online, live, and you got a bit of a cough, etc., then you got to get over it, you get a drink, and keep going. And that's what we're doing. Okay, I hope you enjoyed The Boss of Admiral Lynch. Look, Benjamin Patterson is a great writer. He's very good with his poems. Fantastic stuff. There's another one called Henry Lawson. I'm going to go to Henry Lawson. And he's famous for this particular short story. I'm just going to read you a little bit of it, and then I'll continue next week the way I do with everything else. This is The Drover's, it's called The Drover's, let me see. The Drover's Wife. It's a good story. I think they've turned this into a film too. It's a really good story. The Drover's Wife. The two-roomed house is built of round timber, slabs and stringy bark, and floored with split slabs. A big bar kitchen standing at one end is larger than the house itself, veranda included. Bush all around. Bush with no horizon, for the country is flat. No ranges in the distance. The bush consists of stunted, rotten native apple trees. Now that must remind Jeanette Tarascio of Werribee in the old days. The bush consists of stunted, rotten native apple trees. No undergrowth. Nothing to relieve the eye save the darker grin of a few she-hawks, which are sighing above the narrow, almost waterless creek. 19 miles to the nearest sign of civilization, a shanty on the main road. The drover, an ex-squatter, is away with sheep. The drover's wife on her own in the middle of nowhere. His wife and children are left here alone. 4 ragged, dried-up-looking children are playing about the house, 4 of them. Suddenly one of them yells, "Snake, mother, here is a snake." So there were 4 children, no television. So when the drover came back, he stayed a little while, he did what he had to do, and then he went away and left her with child. But in this particular case, a snake enters the house. "Snake, mother, here is a snake." The gaunt, sunbrowned bushwoman dashes from the kitchen, snatches her baby from the ground, holds it on her left hip and reaches for a stick. "Where is it?" "Here, gone into the wood heap," yells the eldest boy. a sharp-faced, excited urchin of 11 years old. "Stop there, mother. I'll have him. Stand back. I'll have the beggar." "Tommy, come here, or you'll be bit. Come here at once when I tell you, you little wretch." The youngster comes reluctantly, carrying a stick bigger than himself. Then he yells triumphantly. There it goes under the house, and darts away with club uplifted. Well, we've got another half an hour, and I've got before the invasion, I've got the Morning Peninsula. Yeah, well, what I might do when before I mentioned the Aztecs, I want to stop there, where the little, the 11-year-old wants to kill the snake, and he's foolish. If he gets bitten, then in the middle of nowhere he dies. Of course, it's a real problem. Now, this is a long story. It's not short at all. So I can only do a bit at a time. It's, how many pages? 26. Yeah, it's 19 to 26, 7 pages, but very small writing. Okay, so I'll show you the writing so you get an idea of how long. Here we are, The Drover's Wife. You can go to the library, just bring it up online. I think you should have it. Banjo Patterson. This is Henry Lawson. And the other one is Banjo Patterson. They're fantastic Australian literature. Fantastic stuff. Really and truly. Now, we did that. What do I want to do? It's winter time now, and you need warmth. I didn't wear much this morning, and I've turned the air conditioner off because it makes a noise. Sacrifices. Okay, now I think I'll do it differently this morning. I'll go and do what I have to do now. I want to show you the Point Nepean. Let me go. Yeah, I want to show you Point Nepean, and then I might come back and do a little bit on the Aztecs, the Inca, and the Maya people. We'll see what happens. Or we can do a little bit more of China, but that's it's important that we look at this one here. This is the colonial mentality of the. I think they started this sort of caper about 1870, 1880. Here we go. Last week we got there with the shuttle bus. This was Fort Nepean. Okay, and I'm going to do, and of course I was on my own, so there are some selfies there, important. There it is there. That's the part there. This is, that's where it is. Those are the cannons. Pretty impressive, really. That's what you look at when you get there. Here we are. Here I am at Fort Nepean, the furthest you can go in the Wellington Peninsula. Here, what a beautiful sight. Look at that. And here they built a fort to protect us from the Russians, and that was in 1870. And Harold Holt came here, never been around here. Well, it's never too late if you're still living. Fantastic. Well, one of these days, maybe we should do Werribee, yeah, Jeanette? This is the walk around the fort. I'm actually going to go back. There's a walking track here, but this deserves a lot more time, really and truly. There we are. Nice one. What do I say here? And it was raining this morning, and now the weather seems to be clement, and the bus shuttle will come back at 2 o'clock. Wonderful. How lucky I am today to have come down. Fantastic. Fantastic. And this is overlooking stunning views of Port Phillip and Bass Strait. Fort Nepean comprised a series of military fortifications dating back to the 1880s, explore a significant part of Australia's military heritage firsthand and discover what makes Fort Nepean so unique. Above and below ground you will find gun emplacements, tunnels, ammunition, magazines, an engine house and even a bomb-proof room. Visual and sound displays explain why the fort was built, how it was developed, and why for many decades it was left virtually untouched. You can learn about the artillerymen and military engineers who worked here and listen to their stories to understand the life of a soldier stationed at Port Phillip's early defence site in this isolated, harsh environment. That's what happens on the Wall of China too, same thing. The waters surrounding the southern tip of Point Nepean form an important part of the Port Phillip Heads Marine National Park, a protected area which covers 3,580 hectares in southern Port Phillip. Its combination of scenic underwater seascapes and shipwrecks and diverse habitats makes this area a living example of the rich tapestry of Victoria's marine and coastal environments. Head right towards the parade ground to begin your journey. So that's how we do it, huh? But I couldn't, this is another one of the same. And then, again, there's more there. I'm not going to read out this one. And that's the picture. That's where the Port Nepean is. Point Nepean. And look at the vegetation there. Nice. Done a bit of work to create the spaces, and I like the historical bits. I really do. What do I say here? Gun emplacement pipe and tunnels, and it says please watch your head. The lights operate between 8 AM and 8 PM, and the lights come on. Wow. Amazing. Watch your head if you're too tall. Pretty rough, really. Okay. Not bad. Take a walk. Watch your head. That's what it says. And here. It's in the dark. Watch out. Whoop. People lived in there, huh? They stayed, waiting for the Russians to arrive. Okay. Oh, that'll do for me. Okay, so with that I come out, begun a battery observation point. It's not that big, the first shots. The Australians are to be congratulated upon the perfection of the local defence of Melbourne, the best defended commercial city of the empire. At midnight Berlin time on 4th of August 1914, Great Britain declared war on Germany. Simultaneously, 5th of August, a German steamer floods was attempting to depart Port Phillip before it could be interned. At approximately 12:45, barrel full, etc., they captured it. And those are the big guns of the time. Look how much steel they needed. Australia's early defence, so you get an idea. 1851 to late 1860, 1860 to 1870, 1877, 78, 1882, 1887. Any more? Yeah, it goes to 1914. Oh, 1950, 1939, 1945, and what does it say, 1988? Point Nepean remained closed to the public and used as an occasionally firing range and training ground until 1988, when as part of the Australian bicentennial celebrations, control of the site was transferred to Victoria, declared a national park and open to the public. Oh, that's wonderful that it happened in 1988. I still remember that date very well because I wrote something about the 4 groups that live in Australia: the First Nations, the Colonials, the European, then the people came from the Europeans, the Italian, the Greeks after the war, the Poles, etc., and then the rest of the world. And it's happening. Our nation is changing rapidly with the inclusion of people from all over the place as Australian citizens. That's it. The parade ground. There are more inside. I thought I'd visit this. The stairs, you go down there. It's pretty well maintained as well. And then I discovered that, around the tunnels there, you end up in the square. And this is one of the shells. There you are. I had to take a picture of me there. Nice place. Gun emplacement and tunnels. There you are. This was built in 1882, 1884. That's the one here. See that? Okay. And that's that area there. Again, a better picture. That's my bag there. Oh, well, somebody had to be in the picture. There we are. I don't know, this looked like a fireplace, but it's not. It's something else. And then you go up to have a look. And they closed this off because it's quite dangerous, really. You could trip there, children. So they're doing something, I'm not sure. Let me have a look. Well, no entry to the observation post here. Okay. So now you have a good look all around. You can see literally 360 degrees. There we are. There's another one there. And there's a ship as well. I wonder whether that's an enemy ship. Coming over. Well, in times of war, they could shoot at them. All around. And of course, it's dangerous too. For children, it's a good idea to stop people going in. For now. There we are. Gun. Okay, this is another one. Gun emplacement, one for tunnels. These are the gun emplacement tunnels. I wonder where it leads us. Huh? Have I seen this? Huh? I think I've seen this before. Oh, yeah, yeah. Yes, I have. It goes right around, and there is a shower. But I didn't see this part here. This part here, I wonder what this is. Chains or ropes attached to these large iron rings tethered the muzzle loading gun, allowing for the application of ropes and block and tackle equipment to manoeuvre the guns. Wow. I don't know if this one's here. Muzzle loading is there. A lot of equipment. Wow. That's it there. Okay. Okay, muzzle loading guns such as the 80-pounder gun that was located here, okay, etc., etc. You have to go to Point Nepean and read all this. But you can also, I suppose, you can stop this filming and you can have a look. That's all around. That's on top. That's from the observation point just underneath. There's a bit of a square there and you can look around. And that's the road that leads down back. There we are. Beautiful photo. That one. Turn around and you have a look at both sides. Point Nepean. Beautiful. Fort Nepean, there it is. So I went down, I thought we go up. Shuttle bus. Oh, it's already 2 o'clock. There you are. That's waiting for the bus, having a chance to look at the panorama there, the views. Gorgeous. I'll just come up the stairs. Have to watch it when I go down. On the ship, there's one there. And this is the Eagle's Nest. Top of Eagle's Nest. Around the eagles. I suppose it's looking out. You do feel like an eagle up here. What a beautiful sight. But can you imagine staying here for a month or two? So all this beauty, God's given beauty, and whoever thought of the National Park, what a brilliant idea over the years. Very lucky we are in Victoria. We've had some forward-looking people in the past, and now we're enjoying their dream. Wow. Now this was upstairs. I wasn't quite sure whether they were... I wonder what these are. Like toilets. Open-door toilets. Not sure. Who knows? You know, they were soldiers. And that's the fort up the top. This is where I was before from the other side. Lights operate between Hayden. This is it here. Gunners Point, Fort Nepean. Here we are. Beautiful. And the beauty of this is that it has, we can walk right around it. You can. Here we are. That's another one. Wonderful. A different view from here. And of course, if you're out here, you'd want to have a bit of a picnic, right? And here it is. These are the tables, outdoor tables. Oh, and there's another gentleman over there. Wonderful. That's picnic area. Up the top. That's what I wanted wanted to show the other tables. There it is. That's the fort up there. And I didn't see the other side from here. Yeah, so that's, you know, the beauty. I couldn't resist that one. I'll take a picture, that's a good one. I think it's bronze or tin, whatever. And that's back again, walking back. You go to where the cannons are, and the facilities are behind there. And I thought I'd go down and have a look around there. I came through here from on top. I didn't want to go down those stairs, so I came up, and here we are. I'm back with the guns up. So we've pretty well done the whole lot, but we do need more time to spend here, and preferably in good company. That's it. There we are. Time for a bit of a break. And that's what I did too. I had a drink, a break. I came through here. Oh yeah. On top. I didn't want to go that. And then I looked whilst I was walking. I looked down, and it was far away. There are more buildings there. There you are. Let's have a look. I'll just come down from here, and I saw this. I wonder what that is. But anyway, I'm not going to go down. Not enough time this time. And there I'll be going here. I wonder where it'll take me. Let's go. Okay. Look at the tree. Beautiful. Close up. Couldn't resist it. That's a beautiful tree. And that's close up of the building down near the sea there. Too far away to visit it. Now this is back 45 hours, 5th of August 1914. That's when Australia joined in the First World War. Big time. Gun placements. I went into the gun placement number 1. I couldn't get out, so I'm going back the way I came. There we are. I couldn't find one, here. And I was worried about I better get back. The bus waiting only an hour. We're back there again in that square. There we are. Goodbye. Good one. And the driver arrived. Oh, thank you, Andrew. This was a fantastic trip for me. No worries. They actually waited for me for 5 minutes, and here we go. We're going to say goodbye to the Prime Minister, and then we'll be fine.
That's right. I'll stop there so you can have a bit of a look.
Yeah.
That'll be good.
That'll be good. It's a beautiful area, really.
It is, yeah. Very nice.
Whoever thought about, turning it into a national park? What a dream.
That's right.
And of course, the government has done so much work. But they can't pay for the driver on the shuttle bus.
That's right.
I think you should be working for the state when you do things like this.
If I work for the state, I might get an increase. You never know.
I don't only get an increase, but you get all the other benefits.
Yeah, for sure, yeah.
Because this is a public,
It's a public area, yeah.
I mean, they put stops, gates there, and the fence. That's they've been on the fence.
It is, yeah.
Come on, there are more tourists come here.
This used to be dirt. They made the road. The road's been in for about 5 years, I
Yeah,
think.
well, that's what happens is that they spend a lot of money on the infrastructure, and then when it comes to maintenance, they're very mean. And that's a problem. You need to balance the infrastructure costs with the maintenance costs.
That's right, yes.
Oh well, we can't run the government, can we?
No, that's right. Might be a new government in 3 weeks.
Oh, who knows what's going to happen?
Yeah, well, that's right. It's anyone's guess.
Anyone's guess. There are some more people.
More people.
For you?
No, hopefully.
They're walking around.
Yeah,
I mean,
they get to the top, then sometimes decide they want to get a lift back, otherwise they walk back.
yeah. Well, that's the. Well, it's going to rain soon, so they better get going.
That's it.
Andrew and I had a good chat, really and truly. There you are, more people. The gentleman who came with us. And that's that one there. Now we got further here, more. Well, it's almost 5 kilometres from where we were.
Yeah, right from the
4.8.
right from the top, yeah, but right from the top is about it's nearly 12 kilometres from the start of the park. If you walk to the end of that, it's 12 kilometres nearly. Interesting.
It's okay. It's a track. Andrew, how, you've been doing this for 7 years, you said?
Oh, 4 years.
4 years?
Yeah.
You enjoying it still?
I do, yeah. I like it. It's a bit different than what I used to do, so it's a bit of it's a Monday to Friday thing and a bit of overtime and no nights, which suits me. No night shifts or weekends if I don't choose to.
You're going to see the Prime Minister?
That's it, Harold.
Harold Holt Memorial. He was, Andrew promised me that he would stop for me. Harold Holt Memorial. Here we come. This is where you went. Just to remember it, of course. I've been here for 4 years. And that's a Prime Minister of Australia. 1967. 1967. Yeah. He came for a swim and disappeared. Oh well. That's it, Harold Holt. Memory of Harold Edward Holt, Prime Minister of Australia from 26/1/1986 until 1967. Disappeared while swimming off Sherry Beach during rough weather on 17th of 12th, 1967. And this is where we're looking for it. Here it is. And this is him here. There. Looking for him. There's Prime Minister after all. There you are, the bus waiting for me. It's been a good one today. There you are, one last photo. Memory, a memory, another one. And this is one with Andrew. I said, can we have a picture? Of course. I'll thank him very much for what he did for me on the day. It was a great experience. And this is now back in Sorrento. Okay, I had to go past my sister's place, and that was it. That's it for today, basically. Look, I hope you enjoyed that one. I knew there was a lot going with Point Nepean. It was a highlight of my my stay there, in Rosebud for one week, timeshare. It was. It's always good, and I decided that I would film parts of Victoria. I think it's important to share this with friends and acquaintances and whoever comes on to my lesson presentations. Try to give a variety of things, like I've always done with my television work. And for me, it's sort of, I enjoy what I'm doing, basically. And I know some people say, oh, it's too much. But for me, 4 hours a week, it's not bad. It's, it's a commitment that I do with great willingness and pleasure. And that's it for today. I've been able to manage without having to break up my patterns or presentations. I hope you enjoyed it today, and thank you for people who come on, and for those who will come on during the week. Grazie mille. Thank you very much. Tom Padula from TomPadulaTV on YouTube and Insegna Booksellers. Ciao. Until next time. And now we're going to finish, and it'll be on my Facebook page. Thank you.